Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How you doing, guys? Happy New Year. It's January 2nd right now, but Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's Eve with your family and everything like that. But we got some great sports going on this past weekend. We're going to get to everything. We're going to get into the NCAA championship semifinals. We're going to get into, the Dallas Cowboys call, the drumming of the Ravens. What does this mean for Lamar's MVP race? We're going to do all that. But let's start off with NBA, little NBA. It's going to be a much bigger year for us. This is going to be, this is episode 69. Ayo! And Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. But let's talk about this NBA thing. One big move is what we got to talk about. The New York Knicks acquired OG Anunoby from the Knicks in a trade for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley and a 2024 second round pick to the Toronto Raptors. The Knicks received Precious Achiuwa and guard Malachi Flynn in the deal. Now, what does this mean for the Knicks? Well, I saw him play. I saw the highlights of OG's first game. He scored 17. They had a pretty good game. I think that he's going to add another versatile. I think he's going to be more of a scoring. They're going to focus on his scoring more, I believe. In Toronto, he was kind of like the third leg behind Scottie Barnes and Pascal. I think this time he's going to be a little bit more focused on the offensive end. But what people love about him is his defensive instincts and his rebounding, which are really good. He has good size, good length for that. For the Knicks, is this going to give them over the hump? Well, I do agree that getting rid of RJ Barrett, sending him back home to Toronto is probably better for him. Maybe he finally sprouts into the third overall pick that he was picked. But at the same time, I feel like, Emmanuel Quickley is probably the player if you're looking at this whole trade as a whole. Emmanuel Quickley, I believe, is the key piece of this whole entire. OG Anunoby is important, and Precious Achiuwa was doing good for the Raptors, and Malachi Flynn is good off the bench, but in the second round pick, whoever that will be. But I think Emmanuel Quickley is going to be like a Bones Highland type of player. That's what you kind of was at the Knicks, but they're going to give him a lot more freedom, I think, with the Toronto Raptors. So I think he will ultimately be the piece that kind of solidifies that for the Toronto Raptors, because everybody thinks they got fleeced. And, looking at the trade, I can see why somebody would say that, because you lose OG Anunoby, a starter, you lose RJ Barrett on the Knicks side, and you just send him right back home because he's from Toronto, he's from Canada. But you lose Emmanuel Quickley, that's bad, but you get OG Anunoby back. So I think that's where the ultimate improvement's gonna be, is Emmanuel Quickley with the 3-point shooting, the length, and the defensive end, and guarding 1 through 3 if he can get a little bit stronger. If not, just 1 and 2s. But I think it was a good trade overall. We just got to see what happens. As of right now, OG played well and RJ played okay. Emmanuel played okay in their first game. So we'll see how that goes. Next, national championship is set. It is set. Number 1 Michigan beats Alabama, and we're going to talk about the games and everything like that when we get to the NCAA section, but we're just covering the overall. Michigan, number 1 versus number 2 UW, Washington. Michael Penix versus J.J. McCarthy. Harbaugh versus DeBoer. Pac-12 in its last season existing versus the Big Ten, where they're going next year. And I think this is the best. I think it's the best game we could have gotten. Some people say Michigan, Texas, But from what I saw from Washington yesterday at Michael Penix and that receiving core, which is what I said last week, I thought that the receiving core was just going to be a little bit more overwhelming for that Texas secondary, more than the Texas receiving core with Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy and Jatavion Sanders was going to be for Washington. And I just thought that Michael Penix was a better quarterback. So shout out to Michigan, shout out to Washington. We'll talk about the games when we get to the section, but shout out to them. Another big thing, 49ers clinched the number 1 seed with the Eagles lost to the Cardinals. That was an all-time flop. We'll talk about that. The Ravens clinched the AFC 1 seed with a dominant win over it's not even dominant. They destroyed us. And we made a crucial, dumb mistake keeping Bradley Chubb in the fourth quarter when Brett Hundley was in. And he tore his ACL, which puts us in a really bad spot for what the NFL just tossed up as, yeah, let's just make it the biggest game of the year on the last night of the year, the last game of the year against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, which is crazy. No, it's here. It's here, but we have no Bradley Chubb. We have no Jalen Phillips. I don't think we'll have Xavier Howard. We have to see about Jalen Waddle, so it's going to be a tough game. Last game of the year. It's going to be exciting, but that's for the division. That's for the 2 seed. That's for a home playoff game, you know? And if the Ravens were to lose, we would have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So that's big. Next, Chicago Bears clinched the number 1 pick in the 2024 draft, with the Carolina Panthers claiming the worst record in the NFL. So this takes into consideration the whole trade as a whole, when they went to go get Bryce Young and gave up DJ Moore. But if you look at Chicago, what a predicament they find themselves in. The last few weeks, Justin Fields and DJ Moore have been playing well, and they've been winning, and it looks like a competent offense and everything like that. But at the same time, I still think that with that number 1 pick, you take Caleb Williams and you go to Atlanta, and because Justin is playing this well and has shown that he's a true asset, especially on the ground, exciting wise and stuff like that. But he's shown a little bit with the arm these last few weeks. I think that you can, I'm not saying fleece, but it might be kind of a laugher. One of these might be kind of a laugher, when people see it. It's possible. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button by accident. They have little birds. So I'm thinking Justin Fields to Atlanta for possibly a first round pick and Kyle Pitts, or a first round pick and Drake London. I'm just putting it out there. They don't use them. Okay, we have to be honest about ourselves. We've talked about this all year long. They don't use Drake London, and they don't use Kyle Pitts. They took Kyle Pitts number 4 2 drafts ago. They took Drake London number 10 2 drafts ago. Kyle Pitts 3 drafts ago, and Bijan they took last year. But if you're not gonna use them, if you're not gonna target them over 100 times in a season, you are wasting their talent. Plain and simple. That's how I see it. Because you're not going to use that much of a draft resource. They picked Kyle Pitts over Chase and Waddle. You get what I'm saying? Like, he had a 1,000-yard season with Matt Ryan his last year there. First ever rookie as a tight end to ever have a 1,000-yard season. And then the last 2 years has been nothing. They don't target him. They don't scheme up plays for him. And then you draft Drake London, a possession receiver that can go up and make the high point catches, a really physical receiver out of USC. Was seen as one of the top receivers in this draft class. And you don't give him 100 targets in his first year. So I don't understand in his first 2 years, honestly, because you used him last year seldomly at the end of the year, but this year you have not thrown him the ball. And that goes with him and Kyle Pitts. So if I'm the Bears, I already have DJ Moore. If I paired him up with Drake London on the other side and then Mooney as my third receiver, now we're cooking with some grease. Now we're getting scary, with Caleb Williams. Now, however, I think that they should get rid of Matt Eberflus and get an offensive coach, whether that's Ben Johnson from the Lions, or another offensive mind, maybe Bieniemy's out in Washington. But I think that you should definitely get an offensive mind in there to work with Caleb. And then potentially, if you do pull off that trade, minimum, you should get a first-round pick for Justin Fields. Minimum. Just for what he's shown. And because of how desperate Atlanta is at the quarterback position right now. They have no quarterback. Taylor Heineke's not is not a starting level quarterback in the NFL consistently. And Desmond Ridder is a shitbag, unfortunately. Like, he came out of Cincinnati with all this hype of being a leader and stuff like that. Guy can't throw nothing. Doesn't even know where his best receivers are. He throws to Jonnu Smith and Cordero Hodge. Stop it. We're not doing this. Part of it's on Arthur Smith, which they're calling for their head. We'll see on Black Monday. Okay, we'll see on Black Monday. That's going to be another scary day. That's going to be another scary day around the NFL, Black Monday. But shout out to Chicago Bears. I hope that they make an actual good decision. Let's move on to the NBA real quick. Let's cover some NBA things that I've been seeing over the last few days and this weekend. So if we look at the standings, Boston still won. Milwaukee's 2.5 back. Philly hasn't had Joel Embiid, and they're still third, only 4 back. Orlando is young, and they're still fourth. Miami, we're cruising. And I was talking to my uncle. Me and him talk about sports all the time, and he's a sports fanatic like I am. And we agreed that Miami needs a piece. And some people might say, oh, why do you say that? We have a young team with Tyler and Triple J, and now Jovic is playing. And we still have Jimmy, we still have Bam and Duncan Robinson. But hear me out. Is that going to beat Denver? That's a simple question. Because Denver right now is one of this. Is that. You know what I'm saying? And Denver right now is looking at the rest of the league like when it comes to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They basically dominated the playoffs last season. They lost 2 to the Suns. They lost 1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost 0 to the Lakers and lost 1 to us in the finals. That's it. They pretty much cruised through the Western Conference, and we weren't really much of a challenge because we didn't have Tyler, so we couldn't score as much as they could and as easily as they could. And then we also got stopped defensively a fair bit. So, I think we need a piece. Is it Donovan Mitchell? I don't know. We've heard kind of rumors, but right now it's crickets. Okay, crickets on that front. Haven't heard that Miami's in it or anything like that. Don't even know if Donovan will move because Cleveland doesn't have to. Cleveland could just keep him. But they're struggling right now. They're 7th in the East, so they're making kind of a push from where they were. I think they were 10th a few weeks back. So they can keep him, and we don't, personally, I like Jovic. I like that Tyler is our main scorer. But at the same time, is that enough to beat Denver? And the bottom line is, no, it's not enough. Because of Jokic and Murray, the 2-man game killed us so much. The roll, the kick out back to the 3. And then if you prioritize yourself as a team to stop them too and their game, KCP's open in the corner. You got Aaron Gordon cutting to the basket. Braun cutting to the basket. If they put Julian Strother's another shooter. So they got Reggie Jackson slashing. So you have a lot of different variables when you're just trying to stop that team. Do we need another scorer? Yes. Are we are we clamming for it? Are we like clamoring and like, oh my God, if we don't get them, we can't do nothing. Like we're not even going to make it to the finals. No. Relax. We can still make it to the finals. Boston has shown a propensity to implode. The 76ers has to show that Joel Embiid is going to play like this at this level, be healthy in the playoffs. And then Milwaukee has to show that they can play defense in the playoffs with how they're currently constructed. So yes, I believe, I'm not including the Knicks. I don't think they have the requisite amount of scoring. And when I mean scoring, I mean like, yeah, Jalen Brunson can get you a bucket. But I am talking about an Ant. I'm talking about a Halliburton. I'm talking about a Ja. Somebody that could just take over scoring and just give me the ball, get out of the way, and whoever's in front of me, I'm taking them to the rim. I'm hitting them with I'm cooking them alive, hitting this jumper, and you can't stop it. A Devin Booker, a Steph, a Luka. That type of player. They don't have that. Okay? They don't have that. You have the inconsistency with Julius Randle. Still, you don't know what he's going to do in the playoffs. Is he going to be in foul trouble? Is Mitchell Robinson going to be healthy? It's a lot of things. And now you have OG Anunoby into the mix. Can he help? Absolutely. But against the big scorers, when you talk about a Joel Embiid, when you talk about a Damian Lillard, a Giannis, to some extent right now, Tyler Hero, Jimmy and playoff Jimmy. Let's not call it Jim. Playoff Jimmy. Big face coffee Jimmy in the playoffs. April to June Jimmy. But honestly, if you ask me, I think the Miami Heat should stay tight. Okay, should stay tight for right now. Now, one hypothetical trade that I was talking to with my uncle is for Donovan Mitchell, we give up Duncan Robinson. I believe it was Duncan Robinson, Jovic, and Jimmy. Jimmy, Jovic, Robinson for Donovan Mitchell. I don't like that trade. Why? Jimmy is our closer. Jimmy is our Damian Lillard. In the playoffs, like he's our closer. He's the one that we give the ball to when it's 5 minutes left. We need buckets. We need defensive stops. Like he is the leader. So I don't believe in that trade. However, you bring in another 27, 28 point a game scorer to pair up with Tyler, but it's another small backcourt like there was in Portland with CJ and Dame, like there is in Cleveland right now with him and Darius. And over time, that has not worked. You know what I'm saying? That hasn't worked, in history. It's only been, Curry and Clay. Clay's a little bit bigger, but overall, small backcourts don't get it done, in the NBA when it comes to like championship level. So that would be another small backcourt. We would be kind of hampered defensively. Getting rid of Jimmy and Jovic, which I believe is a good piece. I think Jovic can develop into, he's still young. He could develop into a very good 4-point forward. But personally, I don't think we should trade Jimmy or Jovic. I think our team is good. I think we can make it happen. But we do need another scorer. So it's a topsy-turvy thing. And if I'm being honest, I think that it's gonna come to the fact that when it comes to a head, it's gonna be Pat Riley finding out some way to outfleece somebody or get a deal done with somebody that we didn't even know was on the radar. I think personally that Pat Riley's the godfather and that boy's just gonna wheel and deal his way to a superstar or something like that and pull a rabbit out of his hat like he's always done. Cleveland 7. The Knicks are 8 with they just got the OG trade. They won on his first game as a Knick. Brooklyn is 9. Chicago at 10 with no Zach LaVine. Kobe White's playing well. They played better defense without Zach LaVine. DeMar's played well. But they honestly need to blow it up. I think DeMar and Zach have to get out. Okay, they have to get out. Send them to a team where they could be actually valuable. Now, Zach, they say that he can't be valuable. He's just a shot chucker. You don't play defense. He can score a lot, but it doesn't translate to winning. And the record shows that, that's kind of true. DeMar, however, could be that punch, not off the bench, because he still can start. He still is a quality starter. He can score over 25 points a game if you need him to. Not that you should if you're a contender. But he would be like a candidate for like if Sacramento or if Houston or LA, since he's from there, the Lakers, if they wanted like an extra punch, Memphis maybe, if they want like to pair him up with Ja. He's kind of older. He's on the older side, so very limited spots that he would kind of go to. But I thought the Knicks might go after him. Maybe they still go after Zach LaVine or Donovan Mitchell. Who knows? But the East is pretty set up right now. I think we're finally seeing the cream come to the top in Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Orlando, Miami, Indiana with their offense. Cleveland is, once you get to the play-in, it's kind of a little iffier, but, I think that, the best thing in the East right now, though, is that the Detroit Pistons finally won a game. And it was against the Toronto Raptors. Right the day of the OG Anunoby trade, which is pretty funny. So that means that OG wasn't there, and they lost. They're 3-30 because they lost their next game yesterday. And honestly, I rather would want to see all the young kids starting. I would rather want to see all the young kids starting. I would rather watch Asar Thompson, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and maybe put Beef Stew, maybe put Bojan. But, I would want to be more of a full young lineup for them to just learn on the fly, make mistakes, learn from them, be in high-stakes situations, and try to learn how to win in clutch situations, and just develop them that way. At 3-30, Monty might be on the hot seat. Even with all that money, he might have only 2 years. They gave him, I think, a 4-year contract, and he might only last 2 years if it keeps going like this. This is year 4 of the rebuild. So, and they're the worst they've ever been. So it's, I think Troy Weaver should get fired, honestly. If you're not going to draft shooting, I don't know what you're doing in 2024 now. But in this new era of basketball where shooting is the prime skill that you need in order to succeed, and then everything else comes secondary, I think that not drafting that specific skill in abundance is a detriment to your team, and I think that is a fireable offense. Moving on to the West. Minnesota still won. OKC's 2. Denver's 3. Now OKC and Denver are tied for 2 basically because they're both a game and a half back. But OKC beat Denver and Minnesota. Then you have the Clippers at 4 games back. You have Sacramento at 5, 4.5 games back. New Orleans is at 6. That's a good spot for them. I think that they should keep moving up if they keep playing well. If Zion just, because of this new tattoo, has a newfound enlightenment of, I must be the most dominant player in NBA right now, and show that my number 1 pick was worth it. So basically, if he keeps going and playing like that, it's going to be scary in the West, because I do not want to see a New Orleans team with a motivated Zion in the playoffs if I'm any team, to be honest, because right now he's put it on every team if he's wanted to, when he's wanted to. He's just dominated. You got Dallas 7, so they've gone on a steep drop off. They got Kyrie back, but it's a little bit of a drop off. But the margins are so tight in the West. I mean, we're talking about from 1 to 10 is an 8 game. From 1 to 6 is 5.5. Like, we're talking about a week bad stretch, and shit's changing. So I'm not really paying attention to the West getting solidified until after the All-Star break, maybe like 10 to 5 games left, because like I think that's how close it's gonna be at the end. I don't think anybody's just gonna automatically, oh, I'm number 1. Okay, well, I'm number 2. Like, I don't think it'll be like that. I think it's just gonna be shuffling board until the end. And people are going to make pushes. Minnesota's going to try to make a push to be the number 1 seed. So is OKC, which I think is the scariest team to Denver right now. From what I've seen, I think OKC, and I know you're going to say, oh, they're young, and some of you might be doing this to me. But listen, I don't care. What I've seen from Shea, what I've seen from Chet, what I've seen from J-Dub, what I've seen from, even Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, these people, Cason Wallace, like all these guys can play. They can all shoot. They can all pass. Like, I know it's basic to think about, but when everybody can do that at somewhat high of a level, you don't really have a weakness besides Giddey maybe being the odd man out. And even then he could just dish out assists and catch rebounds. I just think that they're complete. They're young, but they're complete. And Chet's only going to get better. Shea's only going to get even wiser. I mean, this guy scores so easily. The fadeaway, the Euro steps, the way he lays up the ball, it's all effortless. It's all effortless. He's clearly in the MVP conversation right now. And one of those top 3 names that you got to be, mentioning when you mention the MVP. And I think he's going to be there all year. The scariest team, again, I was talking to my uncle. Shout out Tio Pito. The scariest team, the team that when they reach the playoffs, if they're healthy, you kind of, oh my God, finally, the Clippers. The Clippers. That's the team that causes everybody to tighten up a little bit. If they're healthy, if they're playing well, it's all going to come down to the James Harden. Can he show up for the playoffs? Because it's been all his career. I mean, going back to Houston, and even OKC to some extent. And then, of course, 76ers, we're not even going to talk about what happened last year, especially in Game 7. So, that's the scariest team when it comes to being experienced, star power, great coaching. Tyronn Lue's one of the best coaches in the NBA. He's been for a while. And overall defensive stop power. When you got Kawhi playing at that level, that MVP, finals MVP type of level, when you got PG scoring at least 25, when you got James Harden dishing out almost 10 assists a game, and then Russ coming off the bench, adding the punch and the energy to the second unit, and he's the one that took that burden upon himself. He was like, I'm going to come off the bench, for this group. For us to attain the ultimate goal, I believe that I should be coming off the bench because of what is out there right now. And Norman Powell and Zubac with the chemistry that he's developed. It's kind of like the Clint Capella chemistry that he had, that Harden had in Houston all those years, with the lob threat and everything like that. So overall, I think that the Clippers are the scariest team to Denver when it comes to if they're healthy and if they play up to their standard. But the scariest team overall, I think, is OKC. And then you guys can tell, but you love Ant, and Ant is the next Jordan for you and everything. Yes, I agree with all that. And I wholeheartedly stand by that. However, they still got Cat, they still got Gobert. In a playoff setting, both of those players have not shown me yet or shown us that they can show up. Gobert with 5 years of playoff experience with Utah, and then you got Cat, flubbing, the last two playoff series that they've been in. I haven't seen Cat rise up to that level. Now, does that change this year? Might as well. Yeah, I mean, it can. If Ant, so let's say Ant was already a 30-point scorer in the playoffs last year, average of 30. Him, Jordan, Luka, I think are the only ones right now that do that, especially at that age. But let's say Cat plays to the level that he's playing to now, and then Ant takes another leap, maybe 34, 35 points a game leap, or he increases his assist and rebounds in the playoffs, and he just overall just goes into playoff mode. You know, that superstar playoff mode that you see Luka and Steph, LeBron, Jordan, you know, go into. That it's just kind of Jokic, you know, that it's just kind of like over dominating, showing that, yo, I am one of the best players in the world. And then he proves it. I wholeheartedly believe that Minnesota can do that, especially with Jaden McDaniels back, with no broken hand, a full healthy team. There's really no weaknesses on that team. The only weaknesses are the play of Rudy Gobert and Cat Towns. I don't got to worry about Ant. Ant already showed it to me. Cat Towns, Rudy Gobert. That's why I'm a little hesitant when I say, oh, you know, the biggest threat to Denver, it could be Minnesota. It could be. It should be. Put it that way. It should be. You know, Denver, when they see Minnesota, it should be instantly, but I think that sound and that honor should be bestowed on OKC and to a lesser extent, a dark horse extent, to the Clippers. Phoenix is 8, so they're in the play-in right now. Beal is back, so they have all three. They've been playing the last few games together. Excuse me. They won 4 in a row. Houston's still there, and the Lakers are 10th at 500. Now, guys, I've said it. The Lakers are gonna make a move because right now, if you ask LeBron, what is this season going like? It's going like this. It's going like this. Why? Because AD still hasn't, and he'll never. I don't think he'll ever take the mantle of like, this is my team. This is still LeBron's team. LeBron is still the best player on this team. And when it comes to scoring, let's not talk about the refs here. They still get the help. But when we talk about scoring, man-to-man scoring, I'm taking Minnesota. I'm definitely taking OKC. Definitely taking Denver. Definitely taking the Clippers. Taking Sacramento, Keegan Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis. You got Monk coming off the bench. Taking New Orleans. Taking Dallas. Taking Phoenix. I think once you get to Houston, okay. But the Lakers don't have a scoring punch like that. They just lost by 20, and LeBron scored 34 and 12. Like, come on, man. If your best player is giving you 34 and you're getting blown out by 20, there is a problem there scoring-wise, and that's why they're 500 right now. And I think that's where they're going to be around all year unless, LeBron the GM LeBron goes to Pelinka like they did last year and reshuffle the roster. And what happened last year? They reshuffled the roster. Yes, they made it to the Western Conference Finals, but since they didn't have the continuity of a Denver, playing with all together and being efficient and all that, knowing where everybody's going to be, Denver swept them. That might happen again, or it might happen even before. OKC, Minnesota, the Clippers, like whoever they get is going to be a tough, and that doesn't even mean that they're going to get out of the play-in. Because if Dallas faces them, him and Kyrie, if they go off for 30 each, they're not winning that game. If Phoenix faces them, we're talking about the playing teams right now, if they started today. If Phoenix faces them in the 8th, you're talking about Beal, Booker, and KD. If they go off, you ain't winning that. Houston is different. Houston's going to try to beat you with Sengun and defense. But I don't see the Lakers doing much this year, even though my uncle is like, oh my God, the Lakers, watch. I'm like, nah, not this year. Golden State's still 11 at 15 and 17. They've lost 3 in a row. Listen, as a Golden State fan, okay, it's this right now. Now, is it justified? Yeah. All dynasties come to an end. and it was a possibility this year. But for you to have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson playing relatively well, better than he did when he came back last year, but Wiggins struggling, and I think you need more of a scoring punch from Kuminga. And now you're starting Trace Jackson Davis at your center. And you're starting Pods. I think it's just development. At this point, I think it's just development. Do I believe that they can make it to the play-in? Absolutely. The playoffs, different story. Different story. And if somebody comes to tell me right now they're going to make it to the playoffs, I'm hitting them with the chuckle. Because, I cannot see that happening right now with what is in the West right now and how I've seen them play against those teams. You're talking about a good win of them. That was Boston. That's the East. You got to go through the West first to get to the finals. So Utah, 12. They have a possibility to get into the play-in. They're only 2 games back. Golden State is 1 game back of the Lakers. What I like about Utah, man, is that core, man. And they're talking about moving Lowry. I would not do that. I would not move Lowry. I think that you should go Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, Abaji. You have Taylor Hendricks, Taylor Horton-Tucker. It's a pretty nice young core that I see over there. And Will Hardy's a good coach. From what I've seen, his rotations and how he plans the game out, he's beat some good teams. They've beat some good teams even undermanned and stuff. So I think that what they have right now is pretty solid for the future, but they cannot get rid of Lowry. I understand that Keontae George will be the star because I see it. They just have to give him more opportunity. Right now, they're running through Sexton and Lowry right now a bit and Taylor Horton-Tucker. But I think that as the season goes on, you will see Keontae take more ownership of the offense. He is the PG, but right now he's kind of a little bit on an off-ball role, especially on, when they get to the offensive side of the ball. He might bring up the ball. It might be Colin Sexton. But at the same time, I think that you will see him grow into that number 1 option. Memphis, they've lost 3 in a row. Okay, so the jaw shine, that's over. Okay, it's time to look at the West, and now you really that's what you see when you're the Memphis Grizzlies. You know what I'm saying? They could make a move. They could go get a Zach LaVine. They could go get a DeMar DeRozan just to add that scoring punch, because Triple J and Bane and Ja right now is not cutting it. And the reason they're not cutting is because there's no Brandon Clark and there's no Steven Adams. So their interior defense is soft. They don't have a big guy to go in there, bang, get rebounds. They get out-rebounded a lot. Now with Ja, that might help a little bit, but I think Triple J has always disappointed in the rebounding side for being such a good defensive player. So can they make it? Nah, it's looking tough right now. They're 6 games back. They brought it down, but it's 6 games back. Portland, they finally started starting Scoot, but I see Shaedon Sharpe coming off the bench. I don't really like that. I think you should try, at least for, I don't know, let's say like 20 games. Try the lineup of Scoot, Ant, and Shaedon. Try your 3 stars out. See how it does. You have 2 spacers. You have a high flyer. You have 2 high flyers with Scoot and Shaedon. Shaedon's just a smooth operator, a smooth jumper, efficient, just a smooth scorer, athleticism through the roof. You have Scoot, athleticism through the roof, learning the game. I see some passes from him. I like what he's doing. I like how he's picking his spots to score. He's changing his pace when he's driving. So I like what he's doing. And then you have Anthony Simons, which is a deadly 3-point shooter. Deadly off the bounce, off the catch. I want to see Murray in a little bit more. Chris Murray. I think he could hit 3s just like his brother. He just has to get more in the rotation. Grant's playing well. Jeremy's playing well, but I think they should really start to get young In regards to trade the pieces that are kind of older, get some veteran pieces in, but really focus around that young core that they have with Anthony, Scoot, and Shaden. And then we move to the San Antonio Spurs. And honestly, guys, like Wemby just scored 30. I think that they're trying to find him more. The last few highlights I've seen, the last few game highlights that I've seen, he's getting the ball at the 3-point line more earlier in the game. They're passing him the ball to let him shoot. They're giving him lobs, but it's still not good enough. For a guy to be 7'4" and that skilled, it's still not good enough for me that you've only got 5 wins on the season. He could dominate games. He should have a 40-point game right now. He should have a 40-point game with 15 rebounds. I think that could have been possible already. But they don't give him the ball enough. So I'm kind of just looking at him. I'm just like, Pop, what are we doing? You're a comic actor. You're being comical right now. So that's for the NBA. Let's move on to the NCAA because we got to talk about these 2 games. These 2 games were exciting, but beyond exciting, they were very eye-opening. And why do I say that? They were very eye-opening because it really shows that sometimes the rankings are right. Michigan is the best team in the country. Alabama, it was the 4th best team in the country. And I know I picked Bama, but remember what I said. First of all, shout out to Michigan. Shout out to Harbaugh. Shout out to JJ McCarthy, Roman Wilson, Blake Corum, Graham, Sandra Still, that whole defense, the whole offensive staff. Shout out to all of them, shutting down all the naysayers, and winning 27-20 in OT by stopping Milroe on a 4th and goal. Now, if we talk about this game, let's talk about the first play, sack. Jalen Milroe sack. We talk about the 3rd play, sack. 5 sacks in the first half. When I saw that, I was like, oh, Michigan has a shot. But why do I always say Michigan has a shot and Michigan, I just don't say Michigan outright, is going to win? Because it's still Alabama. And like you saw, throughout thick and thin, it was a 7-point game and it went to overtime. And Alabama had the lead 17-13. Or 20-13 in the late in the 4th quarter with like 5 minutes left and 3 minutes left, and JJ drove him down the field, and Blake and Roman Wilson on that almost broken play. I mean that flea flicker pass back was crazy. JJ caught it with one hand, and I was like, oh my god! And then he threw it, and then Rome caught it and juked somebody. And then the tip ball that was tipped. And Rome still caught it and cut the corner. Michigan wanted it more. And it's not just that. J.J. McCarthy is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe right now. It's just what it is. Now, you had fumbling troubles. You had that fumbled punt in both games, because we're going to talk about the other game too, and we had a muffed punt there too. But big mistakes on special teams. The best player in Alabama yesterday, if we're really being real, was Burnip, the Aussie punter. 62-yard bomb. The last one was, caused a fumble, and he got it at the 1. So JJ had to be careful when taking a knee to try to go to overtime. But what this shows me is that Michigan's on a mission. I'm glad Michigan won, because everybody was on Alabama, and I told everybody, watch, everybody's going to be on Bama. I'm going to be on Bama just because, I was on Bama just because of the story that Bama had built with the chip on their shoulder throughout the season, and I've seen that so many times before. He has 7 championships, and some of those championships have been with chips on their shoulders, and nobody believes in them and stuff like that. Others have been completely dominant, but, I just felt that Bama was going to find a way. But I'm glad that Michigan won. And, we're going to talk about the other game, but if we're talking about this running game, if we're talking about this D line with Graham, Sanders still in the back end, Moore, Johnson, like this is a really good defense. This is a defense that stopped Alabama. Jace McClellan got a crease one, for the first touchdown, and the second touchdown it was wide open. But other than that, like there was not big plays out there. Isaiah Bond was kept out of it. Burton was kept out of it most of the game. So they didn't allow Alabama to get comfortable in the pocket. No deep shots, and that's how you play Bama, especially with a guy like Jalen Milroe that has a cannon, and the best throws that he does is the deep throw. Now, the low snaps, for a Saban team to have low snap after low snap this deep into the season, it is concerning. But at the same time, whose fault is it? The centers. You saw those 2 back-to-back snaps and the snap in the overtime on 4th and goal. It was low. And as soon as it was low, that takes Jalen Milroe's eyes off the pass rush. He catches it, looks up, and immediately goes straight forward. People say that if he could have gone left and cut left, but Sanders still was there. Listen, I'm happy Michigan won. Bama had a hell of a season, but I think Michigan was the best team, showed it on defense and offense, had a better quarterback, had the better running game, and overall was the better team. Let's move on to the Sugar Bowl. Remember, I picked UW. And the reason I said I picked UW, by the way, shout out to the Washington Huskies. Shout out. And what did I say about this receiving core? It was scary. I told my friends. I told you guys. I said, I believe that the University of Washington Husky receiving core is, 1, the best in the country, and 2, would best the back end and secondary of Texas. And why did I say that? Because Michael Penix had only been sacked 11 times all year. This is a great offensive line. And the D-line for Washington is slightly underrated. Trice is a monster. He's going to be an NFL player and a very good one. Mohammed is great on the outside. And overall, they caused more problems for Texas in the passing game. When it became, I need the pass, they couldn't. They kept Worthy under control. They kept Adonai Mitchell, except that touchdown, which was crazy. That's why he reminds me kind of like T. Higgins, with his size and his catch radius and stuff like that for the next level. But, when you go against a Roma Dunze, when you go against a Jalen Polk, when you go against a Jalen McMillan, a good offensive line that if you don't get home, one of those monsters will get open. Second play of the game, 77-yard bomb to Jalen Polk on a rope. And Michael Penix showed in this game that he should have won the Heisman. I know Jaden Daniels accounted for 50 touchdowns and was great and everything, but this guy dropped 430 yards in the Sugar Bowl versus Texas. Versus Devondre Sweat, didn't even get a sack. A defense that was highly touted. And Penix throws for 430. They don't run the ball well. Now, I'm going to be very honest and critical about the University of Washington Huskies play calling in the red zone, especially in the second half. 2 back-to-back drives of Penix cooking, slicing up this defense with the pass. And you get within the 10 and you run 6 straight runs. Knowing that you haven't run the ball in between the tackles good all game. 6 straight runs where you could have had 2 touchdowns there and shut out the rest of the game. No, you leave yourself with a panic and Texas drives down and they are 1 play away from beating you because you're up 6. And, thank God for the cornerback getting it away from Adonai Mitchell because it was a perfectly thrown ball. Thank God the cornerback jumped up and batted that ball away. But shout out to Kalen DeBoer. Shout out to Michael Penix. And Thursday, tomorrow, today's Tuesday, so not tomorrow. Thursday, I will break down the matchup for Monday night. But shout out to you, Dub. Shout out to Michigan, and we are in for a hell of a national championship. A hell of a national championship. Congratulations to Texas for making it this far. Sark, you need a better, you got Archie Manning. Is that your start next year? Right now we're hearing crickets on that end about that. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. To the NFL slate we go. A couple housekeeping things about the NFL. You know what? We'll go through them as we go through the games. We'll do that. Jets Browns. I picked the Browns. And I think I did a very good job. Joe Flacco looks like he's ready for the playoffs. The Browns are 11-5 and locked into the 5th seed. 11-5. Who would have thought that? As soon as they lost Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, people thought it's gonna be one of those again. Nope, they go through 4 different quarterbacks. 4. Stefanski should be considered for Coach of the Year because of the job that he has done. Now, I know that there's other candidates out there and strong ones, but within those top 3, it should be Stefanski. If we look at this game overall, you look at Joe Flacco, he went for 309, 19 of 29, 3 touchdowns, a pick, passer rating of 121.2. Beautiful. Jerome Ford, they ran for 127 yards. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's enough. Jerome Ford got 64. He ran hard. Kareem got 10 for 31. Pierre Strong got 4 for 29. Now, so Amari doesn't play this game after the record-setting game last week. So what does Joe Flacco say? Well, okay. Well, I don't have my number 1 receiver, but I still have my number 1 tight end. And this man gave David Njoku 6 receptions for 134 yards, and Njoku had a long of 43. No touchdowns, but on 8 targets, 134 yards with 6 catches, an average of 22.3. These are all big plays, explosive plays. Shout out to the kid from UM, man. It's good to see him do good. He was highly touted coming out of UM when he got drafted, and Baker couldn't find him a lot, and it's nice for Joe to accentuate his talents. Elijah Moore turned into his number 1 receiver. He went 5 for 61 and then got hurt, caught a touchdown. Jerome Ford got 2 touchdowns receiving. One was crazy. One, he got hit. Joe Flacco got hit in the head, spun, and then rolls out, throws a dart to Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford turns and takes it to the end zone. Crazy play, and shows that, a 38-year-old Joe Flacco still got it. Still got the cannon, still got mobility, maintains himself pliable, and it was very impressive to see. And at the end of the day, before we talk a little bit about the Jets, this team will make it to the Super Bowl if this defense maintains their status as the best defense in the NFL. This team runs through Myles Garrett. If Myles Garrett has sacks, if Myles Garrett puts pressure on quarterbacks, if Myles Garrett puts pressure on offensive lines, this secondary is opportunistic with Denzel Ward. They'll get Grant Delpit back, I believe, and Greg Newsome and Owusu Koromoa. So I think that this defense is a Super Bowl worthy defense and is very scary. Very scary. Okay? But, offensively, if they can keep going like this and Joe Flacco keep playing like this, I mean, they can really beat anybody. Because if they can keep anybody at 20 points or lower, they've shown that they have an offense that has a propensity to score big. Now let's move on to the Jets. Trevor Siemian started this game. 32 for 45 for 261, an average of 5.8. A touchdown and a pick. Why is Nathaniel Hackett throwing 45 times with Trevor Siemian? Why? That is just, you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay? That game plan, that was not executed. Okay? That was not executed at all. Breece Hall went 13 for 84 yards on the ground, a long of 25. Garrett Wilson went 5 for 50 on 10 targets. So of those 45 pass attempts, 10 targets went to Garrett Wilson. If you're going to throw the ball 45 times, 15 to 20 should go to Garrett Wilson. Tyler Conklin got 5 targets. Breece Hall got 9 targets. He went 9 for 42 and a touchdown. That's your future. Besides Aaron Rodgers, your future is this defense, although they got cooked this game. Cooked. Especially in the air by the tight end Njoku. And, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. That's what you hang your hat on going into next year. Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and that defense. If you're going to make any noise next year, they all better be healthy and they all be playing at an all-pro level. Okay? But shout out to the Browns for that win right there. Then we go to the controversial. We go to Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys. I picked Dallas. I picked Dallas because they were at home. I picked Dallas because the noise wouldn't bother them and Dak could get to his play calls and everything. But we found out something about this Dallas team fully this game. They were at home. Mind you, they were at home. And you saw that this team runs, lives, breathes, and sleeps on CeeDee Lamb. If CeeDee Lamb can't get open, if CeeDee Lamb can't create separation, if CeeDee Lamb can't get schemed up by Mike McCarthy, they are not moving the ball. Okay, CeeDee Lamb breaks the Dallas Cowboys receiving record for catches and yards in a season, passing Michael Irvin. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. He was good at Oklahoma. He's been nothing but great in the NFL. Nothing but great in the NFL. Now, let's talk about this game because this game was very defensive oriented besides CD. It's 20-19. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of scoring here. If we go to the Lions, 19 for 34, 271 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks for Jared Goff. Okay. David Montgomery got 14 for 65 and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs went 15 for 43. They ran for 125 yards total. So not a lot. Not an egregious amount. Amon-Ra went 6 for 90 on 8 targets and a touchdown. Laporta went 7 for 84. Jameson Williams went 2 for 69 on 3 targets. But this game came down to what everybody knows. Dak went for 345, an average of 9.1, a completion. TD, 2 to 1 ratio, TD to interception. He took 3 sacks for 22 yards. But he went 26 for 38. He was okay. He threw pretty well. Tony Pollard didn't get much. He was 3.1 yards a carry, 16 for 49. And they ran for 61 yards total. CD, of those 38 pass attempts and of those 26 completions, CD got 17 targets and 13 of those completions for 227 yards, an average of 17.5 a catch, and a touchdown and a long of 92, which came in the first half. Brandon Cooks was 5 for 60 for a touchdown. Jake Ferguson went 4 for 33. But this is a CD Lamb dependent team. Okay? This is a CD Lamb dependent team, and I don't think that flies in the playoffs. Somebody's going to stop you. And now we're seeing Philadelphia. We're going to talk about them and that collapse, but they're the 2 seed right now. Dallas is the 2 seed right now. And the division leader in the NFC East. But even with that, they won on a technicality. Because that 2-point conversion was good. Oh, that he didn't report. He wasn't eligible. He was on the line and everything like that. A report came out. The play was completely legal. There's video evidence that everybody went to report. Supposedly it was misdirection, and they were trying to mix the Dallas defense by sending 3 people to report and everything. But the people that needed to report reported. So what I'm saying is that this is a Lakers call. This is a classic referee helping out the Dallas Cowboys because they knew they were going to lose. Hell of a play call by MCDC for that 2-point conversion. Hell of a play call. Hell of a drive to score the way they did at the end. But Dallas wins 2019. And that referee crew got kicked out of the playoffs because it's the same referee crew of the MVS non-PI call game. Same crew, same head referee. So, I think his name is Brad Allen. Sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, but his last name is Allen. Yeah. Cost the Lions a game, cost Kansas City a game. You're out of the playoffs, buddy. You're not. You got investigated. It was supposed to be 3 times. I didn't look at the third egregious call that they had failed this season. But once I saw that they were part of the MVS game, and I guessed it, I was like, if they're kicking them out of the playoffs, that means that there was another really egregious call on their record. And I was like, maybe it's the Kansas City one. And evidently, it was. It was the MVS one. So shout out to Dallas. With that win, puts them into second place because of the collapse that we'll talk about later. And first place in their division, possibly having a shot at having a, home field advantage if somehow San Francisco got knocked off. But I don't think that they're really a 2 seed. I think they got too many holes on offense. I think they're too CD dependent. I don't think they can run the ball consistently. And Dak on the road has shown you that they are not the same team. So I don't believe the 2 seed hype. Okay? But shout out to Dallas. But I feel like the playoffs are going to be a lot of another year of that. Next game. Dolphins Ravens. Oh, but why don't you save this for, because this is a 1:00 game. Okay. So we saw it at 1:00. I picked the Ravens. Boy, thank God I did. Even as a Dolphins fan. 56-19. 56-19? Guys, we were supposed to be the second best team in the AFC. Second best team in the AFC. They put 56 on us. And the last touchdown was Brent Huntley, not even Lamar. Lamar sealed the MVP. With a ridiculous perfect QB rating. 158.3. 18 of 21. 321. An average of 15.3 a completion. 5 touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack for 9 yards, perfect passer rating. They ran the ball for 160 yards, so not one of their crazy running games. Lamar had 35, so he ran only when he needed to. Justice Hill had 3 for 48, along a 41. Gus Edwards went 16 for 68, and along a 12. Zay Flowers went 3 targets, 3 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown. The long of 75, which was nasty because he put it over his shoulder. He kept going, then juked, and then, went into the end zone. That kid's special, man. And Lamar finally has weapons. Justice Hill was their second leading receiver, the running back, 5 for 64 along a 23. Rashad Bateman went 4 for 54. Isaiah Likely caught 2 touchdowns. He went 2 for 42. And Odell Beckham Jr. caught 1 for 133, but it was a great catch. It was a classic Odell type of catch. And this defense was absolutely stellar. Now, we got some problems in Miami. We got some problems. But let's talk about Lamar. Lamar is playing in the Louisville offense that he won the Heisman in as a sophomore. Youngest Heisman ever at that point. I believe first sophomore to ever win it, if I'm not mistaken. But Todd Monken, John Harbaugh, and this defense is playing absolutely incredible. They're the best team in the NFL. It's bar none. They beat the Bricks by 2 touchdowns out of 49ers and forced them into 4 picks or 5 picks in total. Now they beat the Miami Dolphins 56 to 19. This game was kind of over pretty quick. If we look at Tua and at the offense, we were already hampered. No Jalen Waddle. No Raheem Mostert. So Tua, against this defense, goes 22 for 38, 237, an average of 6.2. So we are dinking and dunking. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 3 sacks, 16 yards. Devon Achane goes 14 for 107 and along a 45. So we run for 154 on the ground, which not many people do against this defense. But Tyreek goes for 6 for 76 along a 25 on 12 targets. So they kept him pretty bottled up. And then Durham Smythe is our second leading receiver, 3 for 54. Devon Achane caught a touchdown. Cedric Wilson caught a touchdown. But what happened? Simple. We were kind of in it with them, and then Tyreek drops the third down touchdown. Hit him right in the hands. He bobbles it. We don't score a touchdown there. We kick a field goal, or we went for it on 4th, one of the two, and we were never close. Baltimore did everything they wanted with us. Lamar was back there chilling. And then the biggest thing that leads into next week against Buffalo for the division, the last game of the season, as the NFL put it, on NBC on Sunday Night Football. We have no Bradley Chubb, no Xavier Howard. Jalen Waddle is up in the air. It looks like we're screwed. Because we don't have our 2 best pass rushers, one of our best corners, and on the other side, our second best receiver. I'm not gonna say my pick now. I'll save it for my predictions on Thursday. But that's not looking good. That's not looking good for us. And it's at home. It is here. So we'll have semi-warm weather compared to what would be in Buffalo. But, then the narrative comes back up that we can't beat good teams and stuff like that. So, shout out to Lamar. MVP. Second MVP. And they look like a Super Bowl bound team. And right now they're the Super Bowl favorites, and rightfully so. This defense is crazy with Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, Humphreys is still back there. It's crazy. It's a crazy good defense. So shout out to the Baltimore Ravens on a win. Shout out. 49ers Commanders. This wasn't even close. So we're not even going to cover it that much. I picked the 49ers. So let's run through it real quick. 27-10. They started Sam Howell again, but we'll get to that. Brock Purdy went 22 for 28, super efficient, 230, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Elijah Mitchell went 17 for 80. Christian got hurt. They're going to rest him this upcoming week. He'll be healthy for the playoffs after 3 weeks of rest. It's a mild calf strain. I'm not worried about it. He went 14 for 64. Debo went 3 for 35. They ran for 184. Ayuk went 7 for 114 and a touchdown on 8 targets. Debo went 5 for 37. They didn't really even use him. Kittle went 3 for 29. Like, this was Ayuk. Ayuk kind of won this game by himself, kind of. And the defense, held them to 10 points. That's what you're gonna see. That's what you're gonna see until they get to the Super Bowl. And if it's the Ravens, let's see what they do with Lamar. They already saw him once, so maybe they can scheme better. But there's only one Lamar Jackson. And it's going to be a defensive battle and I give the edge to Lamar because he's Lamar. If that's the Super Bowl. Commanders. Sam Howell, 17 for 28. 169. A touchdown and 2 picks. They were supposed to start Brissett. He got hurt. Right before, like a day before the game, I think, or something like that. Brian Robinson went 9 for 44. Terry McLaurin were 4 for 61. There was nothing this game did or anything. Now, for Washington, you're going to fire Rivera. Are you going to fire Bieniemy? Are you going to keep him? What are you going to do with Sam Howell? What are you going to do with your pick? All that is in the works for them at 4-12. High draft pick. What do they need? Is it offensive lineman? Is it somebody on the defensive side to maybe replace Chase Young? Is it maybe a weapon, a receiver, which there's many in this draft? Is it a quarterback? Do you take a Michael Penix? Do you take a Daniels, a Jaden Daniels? Do you take a Bo Nix? There's so much things that they can do. We'll see what they do. I know that they're getting rid of the coach. I know it might be a full facelift. They might not even be known as the Commanders next year. It might be another name, another color. I think I'm expecting big changes from this ownership group. All right, so far we're 3-0 in our picks. And then we get to our first L. Mason Rudolph. Listen, I don't know how Pittsburgh did it, but they just squeezed out a 17th straight winning season for Mike Tomlin. He's third all time behind Bill and Tom Landry, I believe, or Shula. Excuse me on that. I don't remember. I don't remember the number one. Might have been Landry. Also might have been Noel. But I know Belichick is number 2. Hey, shout out, man. Good job. Good job. 3rd string quarterback. And what does he do? I don't know. Let me use a guy that instills fear when he got drafted and everybody thought that he was going to be great. Pickens. Finally using George Pickens. He goes for 7 catches for 131 yards, an average of 18.7 and a long of 37. No touchdowns this game, but 9 targets. Solid. At least it's not the 2 or 4 that we were seeing all year from Kenny Pickett and then Trubisky. But we don't even talk about Mitch the bitch. Mason Rudolph went 18 for 24, so he didn't throw it that much. He was efficient, but he didn't throw it that much. 24 attempts. 274 yards, modest. But he went no touchdowns and no picks. Well, no picks is important. No picks is important. Now, the game was won on the ground. Pickens did have 131 yards, but the game was won on the ground. Najee Harris gets his fifth, guys. Only fifth of his career. Think about when he was drafted. What pick he was drafted, where he was drafted, and who he was drafted above. 27 for 122, an average of 4.5 a carry, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 23. And then Jaylen Warren kicked in 13 for 75, 5.8 yards a carry, and a touchdown. You see why Jaylen Warren should be the starter. Even with Najee, it takes 27 carries to get to 122. It takes Jaylen Warren 13 carries to get to 75. Just more juice. More juice. Now, gotta give a big round of applause for that offensive line. You know, they kind of kicked the Seahawks' ass a little bit. You know, but when we look at it overall, it's this defense, man. It's TJ Watt. It's Alex Highsmith. Joey Porter Jr., Cameron Hayward. Like, that's who wins games for him. But now with Mason Rudolph, they have a little bit of offensive firepower. They can actually use Deontay Johnson. They can use George Pickens. You know, Deontay had a solid game compared to this year. He went 4 for 76 on 4 targets. That's pretty good. But for Mason Rudolph, the third stringer, wait all year, come in and back-to-back weeks show that he can throw the ball better than the other two that are in front of him is kind of like a little shot. It's a little like it makes this happen. Who is picking our quarterbacks? Who's doing that decision making? Because if this guy was our third string and he's the guy that has the most balls throwing the ball, the guy that wants to throw it in there, the guy that rather give George Pickens a shot, Deontay Johnson a shot, and builds confidence in this offense to go for shots down the field and throw the ball down the field instead of the dink and dunk and the Mitch the bitch, you know, what do you do now? Now, of course, you know, Mason Rudolph can't be the number one because you took Kenny Pickett 20th overall and he's shown some flashes and he's won you games. Guys, if you ain't throwing to your number one receiver at least 10 times a game, knowing that your number one receiver can win probably any number one-on-one, any, because that's the type of talent he is. Yeah, I think that guy is the one that should start. Regardless of where you pick the other guy. Look at Mac Jones. Granted, he didn't have no George Pickens on his team, so that's also up for debate. But if we look at the Seahawks, Geno went 23 for 33, 290, a touchdown, no picks. Kenneth went 10 for 53. They ran the ball for 88 yards. That's where this game was lost. The fact that they could not run the ball consistently on first or second down when they decided to run was the difference in this game. Because DK went 5 for 106. Noah Fant with 5 for 59. You know, Jackson Smith and Jigba caught one pass, and Tyler Lockett caught one pass. So, yeah, they held them down. They couldn't hold DK down, but they held everybody else down pretty good. So, shout out to the Steelers. And, you know, what does this mean for them? Well, it means that they're still alive for the playoffs. They need some things to happen in order for them to get into the playoffs. But their chance is still there. Okay? The chance is still there. So, shout out to Steelers. Seahawks, you should have won this game. It was at home. And the lack of running game, the fact that you could not run the ball was the detriment. And you couldn't hold them. You know, this Pittsburgh team scored 30. That is very seldom that it happens. Very rare that it happens for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, you know, overall, I think the Seahawks, they need a little something else. They're missing something. They're 8-8 right now. We'll look at the playoff picture later, but they should have won this game, and that's a tough loss. That's a tough loss, 30-23 there. Next game, Patriots-Bills. All right, guys. I don't know what happened to the Bills, but this game was 21-21. 21-21 in relatively close because it was 13-20. It was 14-20 going into halftime. And then 27-21 in the fourth quarter. And that's how it ended. 27-21. How at home do you allow Bailey Zappi to run in twice? Bailey Zappi had 2 rushing touchdowns this game. 2 rushing touchdowns. He went 16 for 26, 209, 3 picks. 3 picks, and this is a 6-point game? Buffalo, this is why I'm still torn about who to pick next Sunday night when you face the Dolphins. Because you let 21 be scored on you by Bailey Zappi. That is interesting on that defense. That's very interesting. 3 picks, and you get 27 points out of it? Ezekiel Elliott went 14 for 31. You held this team to 103 yards rushing. But Bailey Zappi, 5 for 37 and a touchdown? What? Kevin Harris, their running back, is their leading receiver, 2 for 54? How do you let this team score 21 points? That is very concerning. Very, very concerning. And the kickoff return, too. You allowed the kickoff return. That was bad, too. To Jalen Reagor. But, if we go to the other side, to the Bills, Josh Allen didn't have a great game. Josh Allen went 15 for 30, 50%, 169, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. James Cook wasn't cooking. He went 16 for 48. Josh Allen went 11 for 44. They ran the ball for 127 yards total. Josh Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns. Dalton Kincaid went 4 for 87. Khalil Shakir went 4 for 39. Stephon Diggs went 4 for 26 on 7 targets. So when I look at this team, it's like, they're dangerous. They have a good defense. They can pressure. They have a lot of people rotating in and out. But against the Patriots, a 4-12 team, and you allow a close game, a 6-point game at home? That's a little concerning. Now they won, so they gave themselves the shot of winning the division and the 2 seed in the AFC if they can win against us, the Miami Dolphins, this upcoming weekend. But that's still concerning to me because that means to me if you allow 21 points from the Patriots, if we get Jalen Waddle back, how are you going to stop Tyreek and Jalen? If we get Mostert back, how are you going to stop the running game? So it's something I got to contemplate over the next few days and watch do my research into before I do my picks. But next game, another disappointing game right here. I picked the Falcons, guys. And the Bears won again. The Bears are 7-9. This team was horrible. You remember? This team was garbacho with the Carolina Panthers. And over the last few weeks, the Bears have won and shown up, and Justin Fields has played well. Thrown to DJ Moore. They ran the ball a little bit well, too. I mean, Justin Fields running around the field and getting first downs that he shouldn't. A la like Lamar, like Mike Vick. But let's talk about the Falcons. 7-9. Season basically over. Taylor Heineke. 10 for 29, 163, a touchdown, 3 picks. 3 picks. He gets hurt. Desmond Ridder, 3 for 4, 17 yards, and a pick. No touchdowns. Bijan, 15 carries. Listen, this is a joke. This is a joke. 15 carries for Bijan Robinson? What are we doing? 20 plus touches for Bijan should be minimum. Minimum. He got 19 this game. Actually, no. He got 18. 18 touches overall, 19 opportunities if you count the targets. 15 for 75. 5 yards a carry. You couldn't give it to him a little bit more. Then your leading receiver is 1 reception by your backup running back, your number 2, Tyler Algier, a 75-yard touchdown catch on 1 target. And then Drake London goes 4 for 56 on 10 targets. And Kyle Pitts goes 1 for 5. You see why the Bears should trade for him? This is the matchup right here that Fields should be on Atlanta, and Pitts and Caleb Williams are going to be in Chicago Bears next year. That's my thinking. Now some people are saying, oh, what about Marvin Harrison Jr.? It's like, bro, you have the number 1 pick. You have a generational talent quarterback right there for the taking. A better thrower than what you have right now. And, just the overall better prospect. Younger. No 5th-year option looming. You have DJ Moore. You can leverage Justin Fields for a bigger weapon and a package of picks. So personally, I think that this should be done before even we get to the draft. Now let's talk about Justin Fields. 20 for 32, 268, a touchdown, no picks. Khalil Herbert, 18 carries, 124 yards. Atlanta got ran over. Justin Fields, 11 for 45. They ran for 192 yards on 37 carries. That's 5.2 yards a carry. That is abysmal for the defense. DJ Moore went 9 for 159 and a touchdown on 13 targets. That's how you use your number 1 receiver. Okay? Atlanta should be looking at this game and looking at the fact that Drake London got 10 targets and only got 4 of them. And Kyle Pitts got 5 targets and only caught 1 of them. And be like, oh, Chicago, 13 targets, 9 catches. You know what that means? They schemed him up to get open. It wasn't just him beating coverage. It was the offensive coordinator, I believe it was Luke Getsy, scheming up DJ Moore to get open. DJ Moore could beat 1-on-1, but you could also scheme him up to get open. So those 13 targets, you maximize those 13 opportunities in order to be successful. Not throw 10 targets to a dude, expect him to beat 1-on-1 and catch 4 balls. Or throw 5 targets to a dude, never scheme him up and catch 1 ball for 5 yards. Considering where you drafted these kids. Waste of talent. The Bears scored 37 on Atlanta. It was a blizzard. It was a snow globe. I agree. But Chicago still scored 37. So overall, the Atlanta Falcons, that's it. It's over for them. Okay? It's over for them. Arthur Smith should be out the door. Oh, but why? It's like, because they wants to throw to Jonnu Smith and Cordero Hodge and use Tyler Algier more than using Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. That's just egregious mismanagement of talent. Okay? Write that down in your notebook. Egregious mismanagement of talent. And not just of talent, of high-end talent. Egregious. You give the Baltimore Ravens a Kyle Pitts. You give Mike McDaniel a Drake London. And you have legit weaponry that they will use and exploit. You give Kyle Pitts to Kyle Shanahan. And you get monsters. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is not they never did anything with this guy. No, these are coaches that will actually maximize the talent that they pick in the first round. Just like he's done with Ayuk. Just like he's done with Kittle. Just like he did with Debo. Just like McDaniels did with Tyreek, with Jalen Waddle, with Devon Achane. You use your best players. You put them in positions to win and succeed, especially when they need the ball in space. You don't just rely on, that he could beat one-on-one. Maybe we'll just throw it up there and you get 4 catches on 10 targets. That's a horrible ratio for your top receiver or your top tight end. It's just not good. It's not good. For Chicago, 2 ways to look at this. You either go get Caleb, trade Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons, go get a weapon from the Atlanta Falcons and a first-round pick, or you ask for 2 first-round picks, including this year's. Give them Justin Fields. And with their first-round pick, you go get another weapon. And then you really suit up this receiving core. Because if you have, let's say you go Caleb Williams, you have DJ Moore, you get their number 1 pick, and right there's Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. Maybe Keon Coleman drops a little bit. Maybe Jalen McMillan is there. Jalen Polk is there. Malik Neighbors won't be there. Roma Dunze won't be there. But there's still weapons out there. If you get Drake London, get Jatavion Sanders. A legit tight end threat. Brock Bowers, if he's still there. Or you can shore up the offensive line. You could get somebody for the defense. You could do a lot of things. But there's 2 ways to look at it. Because let's say they want to keep Justin Fields. They want to build around him. Your number 1 pick is Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's not even a question. It's not even before the draft starts. You already hand the card into to Goodell. Already. Marvin Harrison Jr. Then you have DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Darnell Mooney with Justin Fields. And then you roll out with that. But the 2 biggest things you should do, I believe, that you should get Caleb, move Justin, get rid of Eberflus, get an offensive coach like Ben Johnson. That's my personal opinion on what they should do. But we'll see what happens. But I think Justin Fields has made himself a lot of money and has secured himself a job, whether it's at Chicago or at another team, preferably for him, at his hometown of Atlanta. Next game, Raiders Colts. I picked the Colts. I picked Gardner Minshew. But it was 23-20. We were sweating a little bit. Aiden O'Connell went 30 for 47 for 299, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Zamir White went 20 carries for 71 yards. Devontae Adams went 13 receptions for 126 and 2 touchdowns on 21 targets. Aiden O'Connell understands the program. Aiden O'Connell understands what it's like to have a Hall of Fame receiver on the outside. And what do? You give him the ball. You force feed him. Because he will win 80 to 90% of the time. That's what you do. Atlanta Falcons, take notes. Take notes. Because that is what you do with a number 1 receiver. When you got a guy that can dominate anybody in front of him, you throw him the ball 20 plus times. You make him your offense. So shout out to Aiden O'Connell for realizing that. Now, he gave 10 targets to Jacoby, and he caught 6 for 56. But other than that, that was it. That was it. That's what they lived on. Davante. And it worked. They lost, but it was 23 to 20. It almost worked. Now for the Colts, Minshew went 15 for 23, 224, a touchdown, no picks. Jonathan Taylor went 21 for 96 and a touchdown. Good job, JT. Because they're going to need you in the playoffs. They're going to need you in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They're going to need that type of JT in the playoffs. If the Colts have any type of aspiration of reaching any type of deepness into the playoffs, they need JT to cause fear into the other team. Okay? And with that performance, you can cause fear because this was a damn good defense with Max Crosby and everything. Like, they've been okay all year. I mean, you only ran for 134, but JT with 96 and a touchdown. That's good. Alec Pierce, 1 catch and leads the team in receiving. 1 catch for 58 on 1 target. Josh Downs, 2 for 53 on 2 targets. Michael Pittman, 5 for 46 on 7 targets. So we're not talking about they did anything. Okay, this was the run game and the defense. That's who won this game. Their defense is good. I like DeForest Buckner. I love EJ Speed. Zaire Franklin's leading the league in tackles. You know, you still got Kenny Moore out there. But Ebukam, which was a champion with the Rams. But this team, can they make some noise? It's going to come down to, can they run the ball? Can they find Michael Pittman? And can they stop the other team? Can they stop the other team? That's the question. It's a great job by Shane Steichen this year, losing AR and still being able to compete, especially, you know, having his team in playoff position. It's still going to come down to this Sunday because it's them, Texans, and the Jags up for the division and playoff spot in the wild card. But shout out to the Colts pulling together this season. Shout out to Las Vegas after imploding with McDaniel, 7-9. It doesn't seem like good, but I think Antonio Pierce has built himself a case when he goes interview. He's built himself a case of, hey, I deserve this job. And, you know, I think that they will interview a lot of people, but I think that he has a good case of getting that job. I believe he has a good case of getting that job. Now when we talk about coaches and then quarterbacks and then a guy like Davante Adams, there is a lot of moving pieces with this team. A lot. When you just look at Davante, where's he going? Kansas City. Is he moving? Is he staying? Is Aiden O'Connell going to be the quarterback of the future? Are they looking to draft a Bo Nix? Are they looking to draft a Penix? Are they looking for a new quarterback? Are they looking to move up in the draft? Maybe draft the Jaden Daniels and add some offensive versatility? Are they going to go an offensive coach? Are they going to stick with Antonio Pierce? Everything is up in the air right now because everything's up in the air in the AFC West now. With the downfall of Kansas City, how we see it, and not being that ultimate team right now, I mean, that could change next year, you know, with a addition or a couple additions on the weaponry side. But a lot of things for this Raider team to consider. The Colts can make some noise. I don't think they'll be Super Bowl bound, but they can make some noise. Next game, Panthers, Jaguars. We'll move through this quick. T-Law didn't play for the first time in his career. CJ Beathard, 26-0. The Panthers have secured the worst record in the NFL this year after trading for the number 1 pick last year. Bryce Young went 19 for 32, 112 yards, a pick, no touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard went 11 for 45 on the ground. They ran for 57 yards total. Their leading receiver was Adam Thielen, 6 for 38 on 6 targets. The best player on this team is Brian Burns. He got a sack. That's the best player on this team. That's it on the Panthers, really. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, they don't have their number. They don't have their pick this year. It would have been their number 1 pick. They could have taken Caleb and stuck, with their pick last year, but they didn't. It is what it is. They need to add weaponry. They need to fix this offensive line. They need to do a lot of things, and find a coach. Some people are saying Harbaugh. I doubt it. Even with the money that Tepper can give out, I don't think so. I think Harbaugh wants to go Chargers. If he is going to go to the NFL, I think he wants to go to Justin Herbert. He wants to have a quarterback that has a cannon, can move, has weapons, has a good defense. Like, he has everything in that team to succeed and put a Super Bowl for the Los Angeles Chargers. If he goes there and decides to go to the NFL. Now Tepper can offer him a giant bag. 20 a year, 25 a year. I mean, he could really, really go after him if he wanted to. If we go to the Jaguars with no T-Law. 17 for 24. 178. No picks, no touchdowns. Travis Etienne won this game. 16 for 102, 2 touchdowns. And a long of 62, which was crazy down the sideline. Looked like he was, looked like he was back at Clemson, to be honest, breaking tackles and, using the speed to go to the house. Evan Ingram went 6 for 60 on 6 targets. Calvin Ridley went 4 for 39. But this team is in trouble, and the reason why they're in trouble, even if they get T-Law back, they have to win this weekend, of course, to win the division. The loss of Christian Kirk and Zay Jones cannot be understated when those two are really the safety blankets, besides Evan Ingram, of T-Law. Now, can T-Law next year, through the offseason, build a rapport with Calvin Ridley? Yes. But it's not happening right now. They're still not on the same page. I don't think Calvin Ridley has gotten more than 10 targets maybe twice this year. I might be wrong on that, but it's not been a lot. Hasn't been a lot of games where he's gotten double-digit targets. The running game better be good. Because if it isn't, this team doesn't have a lot in the passing game besides Evan Ingram and Calvin Ridley. And they're going to be doubled most of the time. Now, the defense with Josh Allen, sneaky defensive player of the year candidate there, but I don't think he'll get it. Trayvon Walker developing. Maybe he'll get better throughout, this upcoming game and the playoffs. But I think, year 3 next year is where might really pop as a pass rusher. Oluokun is a tackling machine. You got Cisco back there, Campbell, Jenkins. It's an all right defense. But you got to score. You got to score. You have to be opportunistic in the red zone when you get in there and score touchdowns to win games in the playoffs. And right now, with no Zay Jones and no Christian Kirk, that is very tough. Because you got Calvin Ridley doubled, and you probably have Evan Ingram doubled. So what, you're throwing to Travis Etienne, hoping that they miss a tackle and he gets into the end zone? It's very limited right now. Parker Washington, the rookie? It's very limited right now. Very. And that is gonna be their downfall, unfortunately. I like this team, but right now, it just looks like they're in a downward spiral, even with T-Law. Maybe next year when they're healthy. If they're healthy, I think they would be a much better team and they wouldn't have lost the games that they have lost since Christian Kirk went down. That's just my personal opinion. Next game, Titans-Texans. And I picked the Texans. Why? Because C.J. Stroud is back. They won 26-3. No Tank Dell. That didn't matter. When Will Anderson gives you 2 sacks and shows why he was deserved to be the 3rd pick in the draft, why they traded up and they traded that package to go get him. You know? Ryan Tannehill went 16 for 20, 168. No touchdowns, no picks. But why? Because Will Levis started and he threw 6 passes and then got hurt. He went 2 for 6, 16 yards. Derrick Henry can't run. They can't do nothing. They scored 3 points. They can't run. They cannot do anything. Derrick Henry, 12 for 42, putting almost the cap on a year that he would most likely try to forget. DeAndre Hopkins went 7 for 72 on 7 targets. Can we get 15? Tannehill, you had A.J. Brown. You used to feed him every single game. You throw this man 7 passes. 7. Mismanagement of all-time talent. It's embarrassing, bro. I don't understand how that could be possible. There is nobody else on this team that you should be looking more than DeAndre Hopkins. If you're going to dish out a total as a team of 26 passes and 7 of them go to DeAndre, that's not enough. Take a page out of the Raiders. They gave Devontae 21 targets. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Because DeAndre will win. Then again, you overthrow him and don't throw it in the right window or behind him. That's on the quarterback. But still got to give him more opportunities. Let's go to the Texans. CJ, modest game for him, considering what he's done this year. 24 for 32, 213, a touchdown, no picks. Devin Singletary had a modest game. He went 16 for 80. Nico Collins was 7 for 80 on 8 targets. Robert Woods went 4 for 58. Brevin Jordan went 2 for 19. So did Dalton Schultz. The thing about the Houston Texans is, can they overcome the Tank Dell injury in the playoffs? They have to win in order to make it to the playoffs this upcoming Sunday. And I believe it's a divisional game against the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. But so that's basically for the playoffs right there. Especially if the Jags lose, and that's for the division. Can they overcome the Tank Dell injury? Can they run the ball efficiently enough? With Devin Singletary? Can they get enough pressure on the quarterback with Will Anderson? Can they cause turnovers? D'Amico's defenses are known to cause turnovers, but can they do it consistently enough? And CJ play at the rookie of the year level that he has been playing without Tank Dell? When the nitty gets gritty, when it's like this in the fourth quarter and you need a play, no Tank Dell. Can Nico be that guy? Can Dalton Schultz be that guy? Can Robert Woods, push through his age and show something? Can John Mechie make a splash? That's what it comes down to. Can this offensive line protect CJ long enough? That's what it comes down to. But shout out to CJ coming back and getting a win. Getting his team at 9-7. D'Amico's up there for Coach of the Year as well with Stefanski. I think Harbaugh should have consideration. Shanahan, McDaniel, McVay. There's a couple coaches out there that do deserve a lot of credit. A lot of credit. Rams, Giants. I picked the Rams. And I picked the Rams and we were good. Now, talk about a scary team like remember how I say like OKC? in NBA. This is that team for the NFL, especially for the NFC. Because if Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and Matthew Stafford, along with McVay, and just get enough of a contribution from that defense and Aaron Donald, this team is scary. Because this offense, the last few weeks, has shown that they can score. They can run the ball. They could definitely pass the ball. And they can score. They can score quick. They can go long drives. They can do whatever you want. It's all on that defense. Now, they gave up 25 points to the 5-11 Giants. It was 26-25, the final score. So we don't, they might be a scary team, but they have their shortcomings. Stafford went 24 for 34, 317, a touchdown and 2 picks. Can't have that. Kyron went 20 for 87 and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Puka went 5 for 18. He's I believe 14 yards away from breaking the all-time rookie record for receiving yards in a season. On 8 targets, so he caught 5 for 118 on 8 targets. Demarcus Robinson, shout out UF, he went 6 for 92 on 10 targets, so he got even more targets than Puka. And Cooper got only 6 targets. He went 4 for 27, but one of them was a touchdown. This team lives and breathes by Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and Cooper Kupp. And hoping for contributions from Aaron Donald. And then offensive front and the secondary to get maybe one turnover. But for the Giants, I think the Rams, finishing up on the Rams, I think the Rams in the playoffs, if they can get their offense going like they've done the last few weeks, they can beat anybody. Because they can score. If they can score on you, that means they're going to keep scoring. McVay doesn't let off the gas often. And Stafford, once he's cooking, he's in a rhythm, he's going to keep going. Tyrod Taylor for the Giants. 27 for 41, 319, a touchdown and a pick. He ran for 40 yards on six carries. Saquon went 12 for 39. They ran for 105 yards as a team. 12 for 39 and a long of 13. They stopped that running game. Darius Slayton went 4 for 106 and a touchdown, a long of 80, which was a bomb on 6 targets. Wandale went 6 for 55 on 9 targets. Darren Waller went 5 for 51 on 6 targets. The Giants have a dilemma. They paid Daniel Jones. Probably one of the worst mistakes in franchise history. They should go out to look for a quarterback. Now, is that Justin Fields? Is that waiting for somebody in the draft to drop a little bit? Or like a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix? Maybe a Jaden Daniels falls to them? It's tough to surmise right now. But I think that the bottom line is that they should definitely change the quarterback. Take the dead cap hit and get rid of Daniel Jones. Or not get rid of him, but make him your backup. I don't think that even they have some good weaponry outside. Wandale has come back from the ACL doing well. You have Darren Waller now. Darius Slayton still shows up. You have Saquon. So I think Jalen Hyatt, the deep ball threat, I think they should use more next year. I think that they should definitely improve and try to upgrade at the quarterback position. I don't see why you wouldn't. Given the fact that Daniel Jones, you paid him and he didn't show you anything this year, even though he got injured. I mean, it was a disappointing season. You guys are 5-11. So if there's something in this draft that you should get, is another quarterback. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know how they feel about it. Maybe offensive line if you do want to keep Daniel Jones. but I go quarterback with them in a hurry. In a hurry. Cardinals, Eagles, 35-31. Cardinals. I am talking about a absolute collapse of incredible proportions. We are laughing at this team right now. This team was in the Super Bowl last year, ladies and gentlemen. In the Super Bowl last year. Now things are looking scary in Eagle Land over there at the link. First of all, this is how big of a collapse it was. It was 21-6 at halftime, guys. 21-6. That should be a dub. You're at home. That should be a blowout in the second half. You shouldn't even have to play your starters in the fourth quarter because you should blow them out in the third quarter more and extend that lead. Nope. They go on to score nothing in the third quarter, give up 15 points, and then score 10 in the fourth and give up 14 points. What is happening over there? Let's get into it. Kyler, 25 for 31, 232, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Looking like Kyler. James Conner, 26 for 128. There's your problem. The run defense is awful. You let a 4-12 team run all over you. They ran for 221 yards. Everybody was running on them. Everyone. Greg Dortch. I think he was either undrafted or 7th round last year. 7 for 82. So nothing crazy. Trey McBride went 6 for 48. Michael Wilson went 4 for 35. Rondell Moore went 3 for 26. So it was just deliver it to everybody. Deliver it to everybody. Nobody had a crazy game. But they scored 35 points. What happened? What happened was Jalen Hurts went 18 for 23, 167, 3 touchdowns, guys. 1 pick. DeAndre Swift, 13 for 61. A.J. Brown, 4 for 53 on 5 targets. Dallas Goedert, 5 for 47 on 6 targets and a touchdown. Julio Jones caught the first 2 touchdowns of this game in the first half. Julio Jones, he went 2 for 34. 2 touchdowns on 2 targets. And Devontae Smith went 3 for 30 on 5 targets. That's where you lost the game. You lost the game because you weren't aggressive enough. Oh, but Josh, Velez, how could you say that? Like, they scored 31. They should have scored 40 to 50 points with this offense. They've seldom done that this year. They did it a lot last year. A lot. There was big plays last year all the time. It was, oh my God. Oh my God, where's the next big play, Devontae? AJ? Now, this year, it has been crickets. Crickets with the big plays. Crickets. And this is the ultimate collapse right here. You lose to a 4-12 team at home? What are you doing? This is what you wanted from everybody. Laughter. You wanted to be comical. Comical. That's a comical collapse. Preposterous. Blasphemous even. The fact that the defense couldn't hold up and gave up 35. That's sad. And that you had a 21-6 point lead going into halftime and you get ran up by a 4-12 team. Granted, Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. But this just shows me, and everybody else has said it, that Philly is not the same team. They're calling into question Sirianni now. That losing Shane Steichen and Gannon, which Gannon beat him, his former his former defensive coordinator just beat him at his house at the link. Yeah. Now they're saying that they're going to get knocked out in the first round. Now, do I see that happening? It depends on the opponent. That depends on the opponent. But is it more realistic now than it was 2, 3, 4 weeks ago? Yeah, absolutely. Because this defense can't stop a fly. The secondary gets murdered. They can't get pressure. Like, they were the leading sackers of the quarterback position last year. 70 sacks. I think they got less than 30 this year from the line, from the D line. And they have Jalen Carter, and they have Jordan Davis, and they got Hassan Reddick, and they still have Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Like, everybody's there. Josh Sweat. Everybody's there. They're just not producing the same. You know? So, all-time collapse. Shout out to Kyler Murray. This was a hell of a win. Good for the offseason to, give yourself confidence. But for Arizona, 4-12, I have to look at the draft standings, and they might change in week 18. But if you're the third pick, there is nobody that I am looking at. I don't want to see the combo. I don't want to see nothing. I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. number 3. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. I'm giving him Marvin Harrison Jr. Let him bounce off of Hollywood Brown. If not, we move Hollywood Brown, keep Rondale Moore, or vice versa. We maybe if let's say Chicago wants to get rid of Darnell Mooney because they get a Drake London from Atlanta or something like that. I get Darnell Mooney. You know, I give Kyler the most weapons I can. You already have the tight end position secured with Trey McBride. Rondale's a good slot. Get him an X. Get him a generational talent of the likes we haven't seen since, some people say, Calvin. Yes, Megatron himself. His dad is a top 10 receiver of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, Marvin Harrison. He's taller. He's faster. More athletic. And still has the technical skills and technician-like mentality at the receiver position to break you down off releases, off stems, top of the route, and still has the long speed to get by you. So that's my plan. If I'm third overall, Arizona, I get Marvin Harrison Jr. If not, Romadunze, Malik Neighbors. I'm taking a weapon. I don't even care about the offensive line right now. I need a one. I need Kyler to have a person like he had with Larry Fitzgerald, that it was like, okay, third and 8. Need it. We're going to call a smash. Okay? We're going to call a smash concept. We're going to call a flood concept. And the number one read, the first read, is Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what I need. A number one. Whether it's Harrison Jr., whether it's Malik Neighbors, has to be one of those two, if not Roma Dunze. I don't want to hear nobody else. Nobody else. Because you already have the tight end position. You don't need a Brock Bowers. I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. if you're at number 3. If you are anything lower than number 3, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. That's it. That's it. For Philly, you better saddle up. You're a 5th seed right now. You're in the playoffs, but you're a 5th seed right now. You lost your number 2 seed. You have to hope that Dallas loses and you win this upcoming weekend to try to get it back. You basically fumbled away the division crown. You fumbled away a home field advantage if San Francisco were to slip up. So, it looks ugly for them. Next game, Saints Buccaneers. I picked Tampa Bay. We were wrong. Why were we wrong? Because, guys, this is the tank division. We're talking about the NFC South here. We don't know what's going to happen in this division. Derek Carr plays good. Derek Carr plays bad. Baker looks good. Oh, he reverts to a pumpkin. What is, and then Atlanta looks like they're going to win the division. Nope, they're just going to fall on their face. And then the Carolina Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. Tank division. Tampa Bay had a chance to win that division with a win over New Orleans at home. Nope, 23-13. The Saints defense holds. Derek Carr, 24 for 32 for 197 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. 32 passes. 24 completions, 6.2 yards, a pass. Are you kidding me? This guy dinked and dunked you down the field. Dink and dunked you. Jamal Williams was their leading rusher, 19 for 58. Alvin Kamara, 10 for 45. They ran for 108 yards. Nothing. Juwan Johnson was their leading receiver, the tight end, 8 for 90. A touchdown, a long of 32. On 12 targets. Taysom Hill went 2 for 30. Chris Olave had 6 targets, 3 for 26. Taysom Hill got a touchdown. Juwan Johnson got a touchdown. They didn't do much. It was just the defense was really good. They showed up. The defense showed up. That was it. If we look at the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, 22 for 33, 309, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Rachaad White, 11-42. There you lost the game right there. You were running the ball really well the last few weeks with Rachaad White. Boom, 11-42. 57 yards total as a team. Your number one receiver, mind you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, is your rookie, Trey Palmer. 4 for 84 on 5 targets and a touchdown. A long of 54. It was a bomb. Chris Godwin had a bomb of 47 and a touchdown. 3 for 81 on 5 targets. 3 for 70 for Mike and a long of 35. So you were slinging the ball down the field. You just didn't amount to points. Didn't get touchdowns. That was it. You held New Orleans to 23. It's pretty good. But New Orleans got a touchdown and a field goal, and you scored your 13 points in the fourth quarter. In the fourth. When you already were down 20-0 in the third. That's not going to get it done. That's why it's tank division. You never know. Now the division's still up in the air. 8-8 between them two because Atlanta losing gets them out of it because now they're 7-9. But tank division, what can you say? For the Saints, maybe in the draft, second, third round, we look for a quarterback. Now, I don't know who that would be, but from what I'm hearing, I don't think Bo Nix will be a first-round pick. Supposedly, Michael Penix won't be a first-round pick, although with the game that he had last night, I think he's gone up some draft boards. I think the top 3 are pretty set. Caleb and Drake for sure. I think the next guy on people's list because of the versatility is Jaden Daniels. And then Michael Penix, although people might flip-flop on them going up to the draft and with the combine. But I think Bo Nix might be there. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is coming out, but he might be there. He's talented. JJ McCarthy, he might be there. Although if he has another good showing in the BCS championship, it's possible that he rises up draft boards, but I don't think there's going to be 5 first-round quarterbacks taken this year. I don't think it's that type of draft because a lot of people have needs at other places, defense or weapon-wise. And there's some good weapons to take in this draft, especially early, top-end talent. And offensive linemen as well. So I don't know what you do if you're the Saints at quarterback. But Derek Carr seems like not to be it. And maybe Greg Williams is not it. Maybe it's time to get an offensive coach. It's time to finally move on from the Sean Payton umbrella, and start anew. For the Bucks, I don't know at this point. Do you trade Mike or do you make him a lifetime Buccaneer? Do you like the Saints? Do you look for a quarterback in the second round and let him develop under Baker one more year? What do you do? Do you draft offensive line to try to protect? Do you try to put somebody next to Vita Vea at the end position? Maybe a DJ Turner, maybe a Jared Verse. A Jalen Trice. So, for them, I think it's more open because Baker has shown that he plays well, but he's also thrown clunkers in there. So it's all about evaluating how he's done this year and if you want to take a risk on a quarterback in the second or third round. Bengals Chiefs. Guys, we finally hit one on the Chiefs after much suffering over the last few weeks. Chiefs win 25-17. Browning went 19 for 33, 197 and a touchdown, no picks. Joe Mixon went 21 for 65. Jamar went 3 for 41. Tanner Hudson went 3 for 38. Tyler Boyd 2 for 29. T. Higgins went 1 for 19. This is where you really see the absence of Joe Burrow. Because in a game like this, Joe Burrow would pony up and try to bludgeon the Chiefs. Now you got to give the Chiefs credit for that defense, man. That if they're gonna make it deep into the playoffs or even the Super Bowl or even win it, if they even have a semblance of a hope, a semblance of silver lining to look forward to for this playoff run, is that this defense can take them to the Super Bowl. But you cannot have that defense out there 60 plus plays. You can't. They're going to get tired in the fourth, and they will give up big plays in the run game because the line gets tired. Linebackers get tired. The secondary gets tired. You got to sack quarterbacks. You got to strip the ball. You got to create turnovers. You got to give Mahomes as many opportunities to make something happen with a limited receiving core that he has. That's your way of winning. Stingy defense, turn over the ball, and give Mahomes as many opportunities as possible to go get touchdowns. Because your offensive line will make mistakes. They will hold. You'll have false starts, illegal shifts. Like, you have shown drops. You have shown that you are not disciplined. You are not disciplined. You haven't been disciplined on the offensive side of the ball. In critical situations, third down, not disciplined, hold, calls back a first down. A drop on a third down. Can't have that. You might have Mahomes, but Mahomes can't clean up all that. He could put the ball where it's supposed to be, but you need to catch it, and the line needs to hold up mentally and physically. Let's look at Mahomes. 21 for 29, 245. That's not a Mahomes type game. 1 touchdown, no picks. Isaiah Pacheco went 18 for 130. It's nice to have him back. Because if it wasn't for him, you would have lost this game. So it's going to be on Mahomes taking advantage of the very little opportunities he gets to make big plays. And Pacheco has to be a monster on the ground and get those tough yards, get that first 5 yards in the first down from a run. And really keep the chains moving, keep them above the sticks, ahead of the sticks. Because as soon as they get behind the sticks, this team has lost the ability to get third downs done. That's what they pride themselves on ever since Patrick took over, because of his outside the pocket ability, because of his ad lib ability. But without a number one or number two receiver and Travis Kelce being blanketed on every third down, especially the third and longs, not enough opportunity out there. So shout out to Isaiah Pacheco coming back with strong. 5 for 127, Rashee Rice on 6 targets, a long of 67. Listen, guys, if he's going to be a number one receiver, then maybe Travis Kelce can go back to maybe being a little bit more effective. Because maybe Rashee takes a little bit more of that attention. Maybe they try to bracket him if he's going off. But that is all on Rashee Rice. Not dropping the ball, running the right route, being on the same page with Mahomes. The same things that Tyreek was. And right now, it's too early to tell. Now, I heard on the broadcast that the offense and Andy Reid talked to Patrick and Travis and the whole team, and they said, hey, we're going to go back to what we did when we had Tyreek sometimes, and some of the play calling that of the old teams, the old Super Bowl teams a couple years ago, and we're going to go back to what we know. Because they had changed the offense a little bit based on their personnel and stuff like that, but they went back to their normal offense, crossers and deep post, deep drags, deep in cuts, like they used to with Tyreek. They did it with Justin Watson. They did it with Rashee Rice, more screen game. If they're going to be like that and keep people off balance, not just key in on Kelce and key in on Rice and key in on the run game with loaded boxes, then they have a shot with this defense. But if it's going to be the same dink and dunk and can't get past 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 and a mistake by the offensive line cost you a whole drive and points, they're not going to get very far. And depending on their opponent in the first round, and they're in the road, it's going to be tough. I mean, they can win the division, the NFC West, this upcoming Sunday, the AFC West, and get a home game. But at the same time, the deeper you go into the playoffs, you're going to be on the road. And can you do that? That's up to Mahomes to decide. But I believe in Andy Reid, and I'm not counting him out. Okay, next game, Chargers-Broncos. I picked Denver. Denver won, 16-9. Benching Russell Wilson and all that. Easton Stick went 24 for 38, 220, no picks, no touchdowns. Austin Eckler were 13 for 46. I think that this year has shown that Austin Eckler should either see if they get Harbaugh, and then he will be used again, like he was these last 4 or 5 years when he was an All-Pro, or look somewhere else. Maybe try to go to Kansas City. Maybe try to go to, you look at Chicago. A veteran presence in the backfield. There's places that he could go. You look at Tampa Bay, him and Rachaad White. That's a good one too. Maybe Carolina wants a dual threat again and a legit running back. No? So I think that he should look at that. They ran the ball for 86 yards, so they didn't run at all. Alex Erickson was their number one receiver, 7 for 98, 8 targets. Gerald Everett, 4 for 31. Quentin Johnson, 3 for 29. I hope that he's a bigger part of the offense next year. That would be a shame if he wasn't. They have a good defense, but they've wasted it to some extent. Jarrett Stidham for the Broncos, he went 20 for 32, 224, a touchdown, no picks. Jaleel McLaughlin went 4 for 44. They ran the ball for 101, so nothing crazy. Lil Jordan Humphrey was their leading receiver with 2 catches, 69 yards and a touchdown, long of 54, which was a nice running catch by him. Jerry Jeudy went 3 for 54 and a long of 41. And that was it. That was it. Denver's 8-8. If they win, they have a possibility to win the division with a Kansas City loss. They can get into the playoffs. Now Jarrett Stidham is going to play again. It's not going to be Russell Wilson. I don't know how Cortland Sutton is, if he's up or down. But, this game was another tank game to me. 5-11 Chargers without Justin Herbert. Denver with no Cortland Sutton, no Russell Wilson. But Denver had the better defense, I believed. And I believe that the offense could move better than with Easton Stick, and that's what happened. 16-9 is, talk about no scoring. I mean, no scoring. It doesn't, it's not like they were blowing the roof off the place. You're talking about it was 3-0 after the first quarter, 13-3 in the halftime. And both teams combined scored 9 points in the second half. So, yeah, it was just not a fun game to watch, and somebody had to win. I got to pick it, though. Pick good. And the last game, Packers-Vikings. Packers rail the Vikings, 33-10 at the land of the North. Aaron Jones finally showed his all-pro form that we haven't seen all year. Jordan Love went back to showing off his arm a little bit, 24 for 33, 256, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Passer rating of 125.3, hell of a game. Aaron Jones went 20 for 120, 6 yards a carry, along a 25. Bo Melton, the rookie, I believe he's from Arkansas, if I remember seeing him correctly, but I don't remember exactly. Let me actually check that. Rutgers. My bad. I remember him from the draft. 6 for 105 on 9 targets, along with 37 and a touchdown. Jaden Reed got hurt. He's 6 for 89. Tucker Kraft, 6 for 48. You got Romeo Dobbs, 3 for 28. He passed it around. He slinged it. Now, they're 8-8. They can still make the playoffs. We'll look at the playoff picture coming up now after this. But, when we look at Minnesota, I thought that they could win based on the fact that, I thought that Justin Jefferson was gonna, make a difference. I thought that Jordan Addison was gonna make a difference, and they didn't. Nick Mullins went 13 for 22, 113. Jaren Hall went 5 for 10. He got benched for 67 yards. Nick Mullins threw a touchdown. Jaren Hall threw no touchdowns and a pick. Well, they both played kind of bad. Ty Chandler went 10 for 40 on the ground, so they ran for 67 yards total. That's nothing. Against a defense that was giving up a lot these last few weeks, and they were calling for, the defensive coordinator's job. Justin Jefferson went 5 for 59 on 10 targets. Johnny Munt went 4 for 39, their second leading receiver. Jordan Addison, 3 for 28. So there wasn't a lot there. And this defense got cooked. They're 7-9. I think they should be in the quarterback market, whether that's Justin Fields, whether that's second or third round in the draft, looking at somebody like Bo Nix, like Penix. I think that they should definitely look for quarterback. If not, if they want to develop Jaren Hall, give Kirk another year, let him come back from the Achilles, see what you can do next year. And then you have Jaren Hall kind of prepped with 2 years under his belt of preparation to then try to take over. But me being them with the weapons they have and everything, I would try to shore up this defense. Danielle Hunter's getting a little old. Maybe draft D-end, a premier D-end. Maybe Jalen Trice or Jaden Trice or DJ Turner out of Alabama. I don't think Perkins from LSU will be there. Neither will Jared Verse. But, you definitely need somebody to bring interior pressure or exterior pressure from the edge. I think you need a number one corner. If he's there, I think you take Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. Because you need a lot of help, and it's not on the weapon side, it's on the defense and quarterback side. So, or maybe an offensive lineman, because you're from the NFC North. That's what you guys draft. So, I thought Minnesota could do more of a challenge, but Green Bay, Jordan Love, showing more flashes. I think he'll be better next year, especially with all the rookies and young guys. Another year under their belt, another mini camp and OTAs and all that together off season with Jordan Love. I think they'll come back more sharp next year. They just have to shore up this defense. They have good players. They just they just have to work. Wyatt's good, Walker's good, Jair Alexander's incredible. Like Clark is great. You just have to get to the quarterback. You have to get picks. Like, you can't get torched, basically. But shout out to Green Bay. And those were your Week 17 review and recap. If we look at the standings here, like I said, Miami and Buffalo for the division Sunday night, last game of the season. If we look, it's Baltimore, Miami right now. If we were to lose, Buffalo jumps into that second seed. If we win against Buffalo, Buffalo stays out completely. They stay out. Cleveland's locked in at 5 because Baltimore locked up the number 1 seed by beating us. Kansas City won their division, but they still can move in seeding if they lose this weekend. Jax is the 4th seed, but they have to win to keep it. They still have the inside track. If Jax loses and Indy wins, Indy's in there. If Houston wins against Indy and Jax loses, Houston gets in as the 4th seed. And Pittsburgh is in the 9th seed, and they have to win, and I believe they have to win, and I believe have Jax lose and Indiana win or Houston lose in order to get in as the last seed to pass Indiana. And then in the National Football Conference, the NFC, you have the number 1 seed San Francisco. You have Dallas in the 2 seed right now. But if they lose and a Philly win, then they switch again and Philly gets the division. Philly's at the 5 right now. I believe they still control their own destiny. Detroit is locked in at the 3. However, I think if Dallas loses, then they win, they can get the 2 seed. I think that's what it is. But I think it's gonna stay like that. I don't think San Francisco's gonna lose. And they clinched the bye already, so. But I think they could be the 2 seed. I think there's a world where Detroit could be the 2 seed. I think it's Philly and Dallas both lose, and they win. The Rams, they're already in there. They clinched the wild card. They're the 6th seed. Tampa's the 4 seed, but they have to win, and New Orleans has to lose. But I think Tampa still has the inside track. With a win, they clinch it. And Green Bay is the 7th seed, but they can't lose because if Seattle wins, then they get the 7th seed. And then you still have New Orleans at 8-8. You have Minnesota still at 7-9 with a spark, a hope. I don't know how Atlanta still has a mathematical chance. They're at 7-9, but that's a tank division, so that makes sense. But yeah, it looks like a very interesting and exciting last week of football coming up. We will break that down on Thursday. I love you guys. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, Happy New Year. Happy prosperous New Year to everybody. Let's have a great one. Let's have a bigger one. More success for everybody. More money. More blessings. All glory to God too. Amen. I do this because I love it. I thank you all for your support. All the new listeners, thank you for joining this journey. A lot of changes are coming this year, good ones. And we'll work through those as they come along. But I want to thank you guys for joining me for these first 69 episodes. Hey-o! You know what I'm saying? I want to thank you guys, and I'll see you on Thursday. Or you guys will get it Friday, I believe. And thank you for all the support. God bless you guys, and I leave you with, as always, the outro. Thank you guys.
El exec.